Let's wish BRICS a happy 22nd birthday, which was celebrated just last month. But before we do that, this go-around BRICS is an acronym for Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. And it's driven more investor and media attention for emerging markets than any preceding gathering of recent years. Why is that? A conversation well worth your 10 minutes right here on UBS Trending. Hi everyone, and welcome to UBS Trending. I'm your host, Michelle LaLiberty, filling in for Anthony. Alejo Terwanko is here from Emerging Markets to share some insights about the BRICS Summit. Alejo, thank you for being here. I'm going to jump right into it. 22nd birthday of BRICS, and it made a lot of noise this year. So tell us a little bit more about it. Why was it so important this year, and why should we care?
Just to level set, the BRICS acronym was crafted by Wall Street analysts 22 years ago to, in a way, convey the economic potential, the financial markets potential of Brazil, Russia, India, and China. Interestingly, South Africa was a country that was added to the concept a few years later. And we had, as you highlighted, the BRICS Summit a few weeks back taking place. And this one drew particular media attention because it took place in a context of a fast-changing geopolitical world. As you know, we are now in a multipolar world in which the balance of geopolitical power has changed, and we've got the US with a lot of power, China with quite a bit of power, Europe somewhere in the middle. And the BRICS were debating whether to invite new countries to the bloc, and this generated quite a bit of attention.
Got it. So there's some new members on the block, as you mentioned, and these new members, Saudi Arabia, Iran, Ethiopia, Egypt, Argentina, and UAE. They were invited to join for some additional influence and for the resources that those countries have. So will that be helpful for BRICS? Is it the answer? Can you break down what challenges might arise here, given that there's almost a doubling of countries involved?
Some people argue more members, more resources, therefore more impact, right? After all, there is some common ground between these countries. They all want reform of multilateral organizations which are led by Western powers, quote unquote. Most of these countries are interested in de-dollarizing their economies, de-dollarizing trade. At the same time, we do need to recognize that the BRICS have a fairly poor track record of economic integration over the last decade. If you take, for example, the New Development Bank, which used to be called the BRICS Bank, over the last 6 years, it's only lent out $30 billion equivalent of loans, right? And 70% of these loans are actually denominated in US dollars, which is kind of ironic. In addition, when you look at trade integration between Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, it hasn't really gone too deep over the last 10 years. So, I'd argue if you have a poor track record of integration with only a small subset of countries, once you open that up to a number of countries with more diverse interests, I'm not sure they'll have the coordination that's necessary to implement change.
Got it. Yep, that's a very helpful explanation. And you talked a little bit about the slower integration. So the economic and financial integration of these countries so far has been a little bit slow. So can you just expand a little bit more on why is that, and what is the possible outcome further down the road, if the new members are not able to create change as they're being brought in to do?
I think it's important to remember the BRICS countries have no common ideology. They don't share political systems. Its biggest members, China and India, themselves have a history of pretty tense relationships. So I don't think it's a surprise that we haven't seen the degree of integration that many expected. And once again, if you add a number of countries that are incredibly diverse, right, to the mix, this might bring resources, but might we see the collaboration, might they be able to see eye to eye in order to achieve common goals? It's not clear. So I think we're looking at a BRICS concept that increases in terms of its symbolic importance, a BRICS organization that continues to have some role in the evolving geopolitical landscape, but at the same time, I think when it comes to concrete impact, it's going to be fairly limited.
Great, thank you, Alejo. And just one more for you. So given all this noise around BRICS, what is the opportunity in investing in emerging markets? And is this a near-term opportunity, or is there a longer-term opportunity here as well?
By now, I believe investors recognize there's no reason for them to limit where they invest to arbitrary acronyms such as the BRICS. From our perspective, the best starting point in terms of building an asset allocation to emerging markets is a good amount of diversification. You've got to have exposure to Latin America, Eastern Europe, the Middle East, emerging Asia. Once you have the basics covered, now it's time to be a bit more selective, a bit more tactical. And here I can give you a couple of examples. When it comes to equities, we think there's value tactically on Brazilian stocks, Chilean stocks. These are markets that are trading at cheap levels and will likely be supported by fairly orthodox monetary policy making in both Brazil and Chile. Moving on to Asia, Indonesia and India, two markets that are reasonably priced and give investors exposure to secular growth opportunities.
Great, thank you, Alejo. And I know, when we talk about long-term investments, oftentimes the trends that we point out are very much playing out in emerging markets. So great to hear from you, and thank you all for being here. For more information, visit www.ubs.com/views. UBS Trending is on social media. Follow us on Instagram at UBS Trending for content that you won't find anywhere else. And you can also check out LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter for more. As always, if you have any questions about your portfolio, please speak with a financial advisor. Until next time, I'm Michelle LaLiberty, filling in for Anthony. Have a great day, and remember to keep your eyes on what's trending.